I usually almost always start with, tell us about your intellectual journey. How did you get interested in the topic of your book? What brought you to this?
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for being here. It's very humbling. It's very embarrassed to talk about my work in public, so I forgive you for that. So this work really began early on when I was starting my graduate school years. I was reading the newspapers. I started my master's degree in 2009 when we were still dealing with kind of the implications of the financial meltdown of 2007 and 8. And I was struck by the language of saving the banks. If you will recall, this was a common slogan during that time. And I was like, more or less, I had already been trained in liberation theology by people back home in Brazil that are doing work in kind of a critical work in theology, but presenting theological accounts and critiques of capitalism. So I had sort of my antenna was up. Whenever I see like the language that is theologically inflected being used in economic settings. So saving the banks sort of may put me in high alert. What's going on here? What are banks to be saved? What are they saved from? And who gets who is forgotten in that story? You know, so that I was very intrigued by that and started my PhD work trying to investigate that, and started to learn and read the literature in finance, and because I wanted to learn about banks, and was struck by how present the language of the future is in that literature. And mind you that the language, that futures is actually the name of a commodity that one can buy and sell in financial markets. So I, as a theologian, started to think that there's something happening in here that is more just than economic calculus. And so that's where this book emerged. It was once upon a time a doctoral dissertation, and it has grown and in different ways. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to understand, as a theologian, why is it that the language of the future is so present in an environment, in an economic environment. And I think the suggestion is simply that there is something about our culture that is currently foreclosing the possibilities of imagining the future otherwise. And I think this is connected to the fact that the future has been commodified and turned into, a financial commodity, and that has impact, I think, for how we can or cannot imagine a future that is different from a continuation of the present.
Great, thank you.